What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here with My MMA News, and today I'm joined by Cody Law. Cody will be fighting Edwin Chavez at Bellator 297. That fight date is June 16th. Cody, nice to see you, man. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, man, and it's the first fight for you here at 2023. I know you're a guy that usually likes to stay active, so I'm a little surprised that this first fight's going to be here in June. Why the little bit of this is a delay for you when you think about it?
It's not what I wanted. I wanted to fight back in probably April. So this has been 6 months, and 6 months between the other two fights. It's a little longer than normal for me, but sometimes you just got to roll with it. So I'm gonna get this win, and hopefully not as long of a layoff before the next one.
And when you get this win, because we're confident here, this one is going back into the win column. It will snap a 2-fight losing streak. I do want to back up to that last fight for just a moment. I mean, this is something we've talked about it off air for a little bit. Me personally, just watching that fight was so devastated for you just because of the way how the judges looked at this fight. It was very different. They gave a lot of credit to him with his submissions off of his back, even though you were wrestling him, putting him on his back. I mean, clear as day, every single judge should have scored that fight the first round clearly in your favor. One judge gave it to Chris 30-27. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, you're the guy that's going through it, though. I mean, just what are your emotions like right now after dealing with all of that?
It's behind me. I took what I needed to take from it. I feel like I've made some improvements and adjustments. I'm not going to cry about it. I feel how I feel. I feel probably the same way most of everybody else who saw that fight feels. But nothing I can do about it. I just got to focus on finishing, guys. And this next fight, I'm focused on finishing.
Now, nobody ever wants to lose, but being a guy that comes from a wrestling background, I mean, you've probably lost twice in a row in a tournament several times throughout your career. How much did, coming from that sport of wrestling kind of help with, something like this? Like somebody who never had to face an adversity in a tournament like that, would have to face with, oh my God, I lost twice. It's never happened.
Man, I've been in this position more times than I've been in a winning position, probably. When I started wrestling, I lost over 50% of the time, all the way through my high school career. I didn't really become a consistent winner until halfway through my high school career. So I've been down and out before, so I'm pretty used to it. However, it's different in fighting because each loss seems to be more impactful, and 2 losses back-to-back sure sucks. And prior to my first loss, I hadn't lost in over 5 years. And then I've gone a whole year now without winning. It's been different, but I'm not used to it. So I'm handling it well. I'm excited to get back to it. I know that all it takes is a win and everyone's going to forget the last 2. That's how it is, because everybody forgets what I did the first 6 fights since I lost. So I'll turn things around.
And it's funny, we talk about people having short-term memories, like forgetting about the first 6 wins and everything. I actually wanted to ask you this question here. I know that you are a big NFL fan, and we've had NFL conversations. Obviously, I'm a huge Green Bay Packers fan, and I know you're a fan of Aaron Rodgers. You like to watch him play. This past season in Green Bay, right, things weren't going well for the team, and Aaron had such a great way whenever he dealt with the media of putting things out there. One of the great lines that he said was when they were on their losing streak, all it takes is one. If we could just get one win, we're going to turn this thing around. Well, what do you know? The Packers finally got that win. It actually came against your Cowboys. And, hey, things did turn around. The Packers were in the position right in the last week. If they would have won, they would have been in the playoffs. I don't think things didn't go their way. But still, to get to that point, just like he said, all it takes is one. Do you agree with that? I mean, you're in this spot here. All it takes is one. You're back in the win column. And, hey, I mean, we know the run you could go on.
Absolutely. I mean, you see it all the time, especially in fighting. A guy can have like an average record and have one big win, and he's the new hot thing. All it takes is one. I go out here this next fight and have a spectacular finish. Everyone's going to be back to, he's the next guy. That's how it goes. Give me 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, and I'll be fighting for the belt. It's as simple as that, really. You can turn it around so fast in fighting.
Absolutely. And a guy that likes to stay active like yourself, you could really make a lot of ground up too as you keep rattling off wins there. Let's talk now a little bit about preparation for this fight here. I actually asked you this before we came on air, and I'm sure a lot of fans out there might be wondering this too. If anybody goes to your social media, they're going to see a lot of Pennsylvania posts. Obviously, you're from Pittsburgh, but just to make this, to clarify for everybody, you're in Florida right now. You're indeed still at American Top Team.
Yeah, I've been in Florida for the last 6 or 7 weeks. I did my whole camp here. I just spent a little more time back home where I'm from. I have great coaches back home, and it's one-on-one attention. And I got to kind of split the disciplines up a little bit and do straight boxing, straight jiu-jitsu, some straight kickboxing, and improve on some things, and then come back here to American Top Team and blend it all together because we're an MMA gym, so every day is MMA. And it's been really, really good, man. I've felt like I've improved so much the last, I'd say 5-6 months. I'm very excited about it.
And I want to ask you too about the boxing, Jim, because that's where I saw mostly a lot of your posts too on your Instagram account there. It's funny, whenever a fighter will end up leaving the sport of mixed martial arts and try doing one of these crossover boxing things, I'll always say like, man, if I thought I had good hands back then, you should see it now that I just focused on boxing. You obviously spent a lot of time back in the boxing gym back in Pittsburgh there. Just how much of an improvement has there been with your stand-up game just off of spending that extra quality time alone, one-on-one boxing like that?
Yeah, I always improve when I do that. It was something that I felt like I needed to do more of because I started noticing little things. You know, whenever you're strictly doing MMA, you have a lot to focus on. So maybe sometimes the tools are not as sharp. You have more tools, but they're a little dulled. And I noticed maybe some things weren't quite as good as they once were. And so I focused more on boxing, my head movement, getting in that boxing range, my hands, my combinations. And it's really fun, man. I love boxing. One of my goals has been since I started to do some boxing whenever I'm done with MMA. So I'm kind of adding to that too right now.
Well, I know there's one guy down in American Top Team that has pretty good stand-up, especially his boxing game as far as MMA is concerned anyway. That's Dustin Poirier, a big teammate of yours. What has he said about your stand-up? If there's a guy that's going to give you a compliment, that's got to be the guy because, like I said, the way how he does his stand-up, whenever he throws punches, I mean, from so many different angles, it's so unorthodox. I mean, I give nothing but absolute credit to him and the way how he punches. It's incredible to watch it.
Yeah, dude, I think Dustin's maybe the best boxer in MMA. Like, who could you say is better? I love guys to go with because he's a veteran, so he's controlled whenever he spars, and he's just got such good boxing that it's really fun.
I mean, do you ever get to work with him at all? Though I know you in the past, you guys have done stuff. Do you guys ever get to box together?
Yeah, not straight boxing, but when we go together, it ends up being mostly boxing.
And have you learned anything from his game at all, just from getting to work with him?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I actually just was rewatching him and Gaethje yesterday because great fight. It's open stance. I'm fighting a southpaw, so a lot to learn.
Yeah, and obviously that fight rematch coming up for Dustin and for Gaethje, or for UFC, it'd be 291, I believe, is that the card, right? Yeah, late July.
July 29th, I think.
Yeah, is that 291? Well, irregardless, late July. We're looking forward to see that one. But let's talk here, Bellator 297 here a little bit more. Obviously, we just got through some of the training stuff there. Let's get into that a little bit more, though. Let's get into this camp here itself. We talked a lot about Pittsburgh. Last 7 weeks, you said 7-8 weeks down in Florida. Just how's that been going?
It's been going great. A lot of sparring. I've got great partners. That's one of the best things about American Top Team is so much variety. I'm fighting a taller southpaw. And it's kind of difficult probably in most places to get a tall southpaw to spar with. But I had several different guys who are tall southpaws that I was able to go with. So it's been great, man. Great camp, lots of rounds. Yet I still feel very fresh. I don't feel like I just went through a camp, which is pretty nice. I've been ready to fight for about 6 weeks now.
So I guess the big question here for all the fans then, can we expect a finish then? Obviously, we got the prep work here is clearly put in. You sound more than ready here. We opened up talking about judges' decisions. You going for the finish here in this fight?
Yeah, of course. I'm always going for the finish, but you can always go for the finish and maybe not have what you need to get the finish. But now I feel like I have the tools I need to get the finish in more than one way. So I'm very excited to go out there and show myself what I can do. Not so much, I don't really care what other people think, but I want to show myself that I can finish guys in a bunch of different ways.
And this fight to Chicago, so new location for you. We're finally out of that whole Connecticut thing. It seems like you've been having pretty much all your fights in Connecticut there. So how excited are you to get out to Chicago and fight there?
I'm excited. I mean, I don't really ever care too much about the location. I mean, guess I'm just excited to fight. Location is whatever, because I get there on Tuesday. I'm cutting weight on Wednesday. You're pretty much just hanging out in a hotel the whole time. But as long as I get to fight, I'm happy.
And I was going to ask you too, like, do you get to, sightsee, see anything cool, go to any Cubs games, any of that type of stuff? But you told me, right, flying out right after the fight?
Yeah, right after the fight, man. I love Pennsylvania. I'm excited to get back to my winning ways and go home and relax with my family a little bit. And, there'll be a time someday in the future where I sightsee and I get to go on vacations and stuff. But right now, I just want to focus on fighting and winning.
Gotcha, man. So let's end then today here. Obviously, we covered a lot of ground with the fight game here. Let's end, though, going outside the cage. I know normally we have something that's pretty fun to talk about. I did want to ask you, since you're into like different horror movies, we did spend a lot of time talking about the Michael Myers movies and everything. I just recently, finally, I'm late to the party with it, but glad I finally got to it here. Stranger Things. What an amazing show. Did you watch it?
Oh, man, like 5 times.
Okay. I was just going to say, like, for me, I always say like, The Sopranos was the greatest TV show ever made, and I've watched that a few times. Like, Stranger Things is like the first show I've watched since that. I'm like, I need to watch that again. Yeah. I'm sure, obviously, you said 5 times you've watched it. Just, I mean, what do you think it is about it that makes it so good? Like, it's just, everything was a slam dunk with that show.
Yeah, that last season was maybe my favorite season ever in television. But I don't know. I think they combine like this 80s sort of feeling, cool music, great storyline. It's got a little bit of horror element to it. The new season had the 80s slashers kind of element. Everything ties together. It's a great show, man. I love that show.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I said, and just the last season too. I want to ask you, like with Vecna, like the way how they were able to do like all that different like graphic design stuff with it. I mean, that was absolutely, out of this world, isn't it?
Yeah, and especially the fact that the guy, well, a spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it, but the guy who is Vecna actually plays him as well, if that makes sense. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I noticed that as well. Yeah, it's really cool they did that.
Yeah, it's crazy. He's super talented.
And the way how I found out is actually even cooler. I mean, I kind of know a little bit of spoiler alerts for all this, but like when you watch on YouTube, like when they had like the behind the scenes stuff, like they legit have the guy in like the costume. Yeah. It was like it was all. I mean, there probably was some graphic design and that done to it, but I mean, a lot of that is like him like really in that costume. It's really cool. Did you see any of that?
Yeah, I watched a lot of that. I was really into it when it first came out, so I went down the rabbit hole and watched all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I am so glad. Again, like I said, late to the party. Glad I finally arrived at it, though. It's definitely really cool. Do you have a favorite character on the show, or not too much, just like it all?
Man, the last season I started really liking Max.
I agree. I'm obsessed now with Sadie Sink. After seeing like her role that last season, I went and watched the Fear Street movies on Netflix. I have to see The Whale. I didn't see The Whale yet, but I heard a lot of great things. Obviously, I think what was the Best Picture. I think Brendan Fraser was Best Actor for it too. So obviously, it's a good movie.
I didn't see that. No, I didn't know she was in it. But I like her a lot in Stranger Things.
Yeah, so we'll both have to check that one out. That's going to be the next one that we got to watch, and we'll have a nice discussion about The Whale then as well. But anyway, Cody, I appreciate the time as always, man. Always great talking with you. After you get the win, we'll be in touch. We're definitely going to do this again, that's for sure. But last thing before you head out for the day, social media, so people know where to follow you at, management, sponsorships, any of that stuff you got to plug, man. Floor is yours.
Yeah, Cody Law, MMA is the Instagram. I'm First Round Management, American Top Team Gym, sponsors Axe and Sledge, and Mark Russell Suits. Check them out.